Stillness within the waves. Master Ren sat cross-legged on the sandy shore, listening to the endless rhythm of the waves. Eyes closed, he focused only on the soothing roar and swish as water met land again and again in ceaseless meditation. The regular cycle anchored him into the present moment. This remote seaside cave had been Ren's refuge for many years now. At dawn each morning, after a simple breakfast of rice and tea, he walked here to sit in contemplation as the sun rose over the sparkling ocean. The practice cleansed his mind and spirit, leaving Ren empty and receptive when he finally rose to return to his sparse stone hut around midday. In the afternoon there were small tasks to attend: tending the garden, drawing fresh water, gathering seaweed or fish to supplement his meager supplies. Ren moved through his chores with deliberate mindfulness, merging work into worship. As evening shadows stretched across the stony plateau, he often soaked in a natural hot spring pool between coastal rocks, letting the minerals seep into his tired old bones. At night Ren would meditate once more by candlelight before unrolling his woven mat to sleep. His existence had followed this rhythmic pattern ever since leaving the monastery over 2 decades ago. Life required no more elaboration than simple, repetitive rituals carried out in mindful awareness. This isolated seaside refuge seemed the perfect place to dwell apart when Ren first discovered it while roaming the coastlands many years ago. The cave gave shelter for meditation, while the garden plot and nearby springs sustained him physically. Seals sunning on the rocks were Ren's only companions. Their wild beauty and mournful cries reminded the monk of impermanence. Ren had not always found such tranquility here. During the first rainy season, he was battered by storms that lashed the exposed headlands for weeks. Wind threatened to rip away the thatched roof of his hut, and waves crashed up to the entrance of his seaside cave sanctuary. Cold, soaked, and shivering, Ren had huddled in darkness and questioned his decision to withdraw from the monastery into this difficult exile. But slowly the clouds dissipated, and sun returned to sparkle on the open waters once more. When calm weather finally arrived, Ren emerged with a profound sense of renewal. Just as the setting sun illuminated the sea each evening in ever-changing hues, he perceived his inner landscape with new clarity. Difficult times were mere storms that cleansed what had become stagnant, making way for fresh understanding. Now in these twilight years of his life, Master Ren sat again at water's edge, reflecting on a lifetime of insight garnered from simple observation of the natural world. He smiled faintly, eyes still closed, listening to the waves' endless song. This solitary cove had proven the perfect monastery. Ren had come to comprehend truths in the ocean's rhythms and storms that he could never have learned in scripture or temple rituals. By adapting through seasons of hardship, his inner light had been honed and focused, like beach stones ground to smooth luminosity. With each breaking wave, Ren sensed his individual being dissolving gently into the underlying unity of all things. The sea embodied eternal change and constancy in a single breath. Ren lowered his head in gratitude for the wisdom granted from nature's grace. At last Ren opened his eyes again, emerging from deep communion. The sun had climbed high overhead while the monk sat in profound stillness. The ocean remained in endless dialogue between stability and flux, speaking the deepest truths if one learned to listen. Master Ren rose slowly, balancing against his driftwood staff. His joints protested the long motionless hours. But the peace emanating within as Ren hobbled home had no price. He had drunk again from the well of truth, replenishing his spirit to face another day. The sea's rhythms and struggles provided the inspiration for this story, how nature models wisdom and change for those receptive to it. The monk's life of ritual simplicity and communion with the natural world allows truth to arise, just as storms give way to calm. Each new moment brings opportunity for insight, if we open ourselves to nature's teachings.